Thank you all for joining the Celebrate 250 Juror Talk. I am Amani Freeman. I will be your host today. And just a few words on the MFA and what it is we do as an organization. The MFA is a visual nonprofit arts organization that hosts more than 40 exhibitions every year. Our mission is to make connections in the local and online communities through art with exhibits and events in Circle Gallery in Annapolis, Maryland, online and in numerous alternative venues. We provide artists of all genres, media media and backgrounds with the opportunity to exhibit work selected by professionally credentialed jurors and to be recognized with monetary awards. Artists do not have to be members to join our exhibitions. However, members do have several advantages such as lesser entry fees, access to networking, and additional exhibition opportunities. If you're interested in learning more and becoming a member, please visit our membership page on our website through the link found below. So a few words on the exhibition. To Celebrate 250 is an exhibition. It kind of talks about how the United States over the last 2.5 centuries have been shaped by the dynamic tapestry of innovation, resilience, and cultural exchange. Celebrate 250 invited artists to honor this rich legacy by exploring the nation's diverse narratives, pivotal moments, and enduring spirit. This exhibition seeks works that capture the essence of American history and identity, encouraging creative interpretations that pay tribute to 250 years of progress, struggle, and triumph. And a few words on our juror for this exhibition. Ms. Martina Dodd is an art historian and curator. She is based in Atlanta, and she is currently the program director of Curation and Object-Based Learning at the Atlanta University Center, AUC, Robert W. Woodruff Library, and a founding editor of Dirt, a writing collective and online journal advocating for critical discourse and increased accessibility in the arts. Ms. Dodd has curated exhibitions for Clark Atlanta University Art Museum, AUC Robert W. Woodruff Library, Prince George's African American Museum and Cultural Center, Madison Morgan Cultural Center, Transformer, and the DC Arts Center. She routinely partners with academic institutions and art organizations to curate innovative and inclusive conference programming. Her recent programming includes highlights include inclusive innovation, designing for the future of Atlanta, for the Atlanta Study Symposium in 2021, sustaining futures for common field convening in 2021, and toward a radical imagination, HBCU digital libraries, and authentic collaboration for the Council on Library and Information Resources / Digital Library Federation and the HBCU Library Alliance in 2023. In 2019, she was selected as an inaugural mentee for the Association of Art Museum Curators Mentorship Program, and in 2022, the Authenticity Fellow for the HBCU Library Alliance and the Digital Library Federation. She holds an MA in the Arts of Africa, Oceania, and the Americas from the University of East Anglia, and a BA in Anthropology and International Studies from Johns Hopkins University. At this point, I'll be encouraging Ms. Dodd to say a few words in introduction.
Hello, thank you for inviting me to participate as a juror this year. It was really exciting to see the submissions and to really see how artists are engaging with this idea of reflecting on what it means to be American, how our past has influenced seeing our present, day, and how we envision the future. So I'll just read the exhibit statement that I created after seeing the work, and then we can talk about some of the selected pieces. So this exhibit explores the layered complexities of American identity, reflecting on 250 years of cultural, political, and environmental transformation. Through painting, photography, and digital media, these artists are documenting significant moments in time, bearing witness to movements, milestones, and ongoing struggles that have shaped the soul of this nation. The works prompt viewers to reflect on how historical narratives are told through reenactments that celebrate tradition, as well as revisionist approaches that seek a more honest and inclusive truth. These artists are interrogating the legacies of civil unrest and the tension between national pride and systematic injustice, challenging us and challenging the myths of American exceptionalism while honoring the resilience of its people. The exhibit also considers the evolving relationship between nature and technology, drawing parallels between the country's westward expansion and today's digital frontiers shaped by AI. Um, this exhibit and these artists really are set against a beautiful local landscape, and these artists ask us to consider where we stand as Americans, grappling with our past, navigating the present, and imagining a future that is more just, sustainable, and unified. And I think all of these artists are doing that and commenting on what it means to be American and how it maybe is shifting and changing and being flexed, today in this new time period. So when thinking about this particular work and a few others, I was really drawn to the fact that this artist was playing in multiple mediums, um, thinking about photography, but not just traditional like um, lens capture, but also manipulating what we see on the screen. And also kind of when you're looking at it, you are kind of questioning like, what am I seeing? Who am I seeing? Um, are these colors in like in opposition with each other? Like there's negative and positive in the space. And I really enjoyed this idea of us having to question what we see. And I think we're doing that with history too. Like what we see, what we feel, what we experience, if we reflect back on that, do we have that same opinion years later? So I really appreciated this work and how they were telling the story. So this one was also another honorable mention, really thinking about the the diversity of this nation. When we think about First Peoples and Indigenous um, communities, that if we are talking about being American, and even the scope of we're saying 250 years, what does that mean? Like who's actually being included in these conversations in the communities that make up being American? So I wanted to make sure that when we're including these conversations, that we're being expansive with the identities that are being reflected in the conversation. So this piece I really love, pulling just the title alone and still we dance. I think that's, referencing to, but still we rise. Like through the many trials and tribulations of living in this world, existing, um, there we have to find moments of joy. So within the stained glass work, you see a figure in the center, um, really in a movement that to me feels very empowering and a way of letting go of maybe like negativity. So I really enjoy that stance that the figure is having, but also maybe looking up. So looking up to the sky, but also looking up and being engulfed in the American flag. So throughout joys and trials, this artwork to me is saying that, but still we rise as a nation and we can be part of that legacy of what that flag means. So this work, I really enjoyed seeing how this artist was incorporating pop culture into what it means to be white in America. But they're not only including, photographs of white Americans. So it had me kind of questioning this idea of like, what is white America? Is it solely based on like the skin color? Is it about power? Is it about um, like how does media play a role in our identities and our collective identities, but also our individual identities? So with this photograph and this putting these photographs next to each other in a way that feels very similar to when you have like a role of negative. Um, you're seeing with each strip, photo next to photo next to photo, different moments of people that maybe we recognize, like Muhammad Ali, and then others who we maybe are grappling with the idea of like, who are they and how do they relate to me? So I really just enjoy the repetition of this work and how the artist is like putting in conversation Marilyn Monroe with Harriet Tubman. Like these are all people who in some way have shaped the identity of this country. Um, but oftentimes maybe we're not putting them in conversation or dialogue in this way. So it was a really provoking piece for me. Yes, so this work, again, when thinking about um, nature, thinking about the actual, not just the cultural landscape, like some of these other pieces are talking about, but the physical, environmental landscape and how beautiful this country is. Um, Whether you're in an urban cityscape or in the desert, in the mountains, like this was such a captivating photograph. But it also was, I think also when we're seeing how technology and AI is creeping into every facet of our lives, and particularly in art, having this photograph for us to think about as technology advances, how does it affect our planet? How does it affect our landscape? And will we be able to capture beautiful images like this, in another 250 years as we continue to expand and grow and potentially pollute the environment? Are we still going to have these beautiful spaces in our country if we continue to move in the same way that we're doing now? Yes. So with Ruby, I think it also is really important to highlight particular moments in this country um, that these are really hard struggles for many people. We're thinking about integrating our spaces, our schools, the strength and courage that these individuals like Ruby Bridges had to embody to make change in this country. And then also the fact that there were many people who did not want to integrate. And what does that say about us? And what does it say about our country? And then are there parallels with things that are happening now that happened in the 60s? And where will we stand in history? When another decade or century goes by, when people are reflecting on today, but in their history books, where will we fall in that spectrum of fighting for equality and justice? And so this work, The Road Less Traveled, um, just visually, it's taking up so much space on the screen because it's pulling from like archival records and newspapers and photographs. Like it's even really hard just from on the screen to see everything and to read everything. Um, but it's to me it feels like that's because there's so many layers of meaning and experiences when we're talking about America. And I think that's the point. Like it can't be and it shouldn't be watered down to one thing. So even just the way that this work, when looking at it, you really have to sit with it for a long time to like fully take in what you're seeing, who you're seeing, what are the words like sharing out to us. And sometimes it means you have to slow down. Sometimes you have to take that road less traveled to get to the destination you need. And I think that's a good motto that we all should have. Yeah. So with this work too, thinking about the medium and technology of capturing an image and also uh, creating an image, um, I loved it. So one, bringing in historical context with the Underground Railroad and particularly with Maryland and Annapolis, um, you know, that there are actually multiple sites in Annapolis that were part of the Underground Railroad. So I think it was important to, when thinking about local history, to include that. But then also this idea of having a family unit in the image of a community, you know, running to or from safety or freedom. Um, did they make it? You know, were they able to finish the journey to somewhere where they could be their whole selves, or were they captured along the way? I think these are questions that the work really invokes, and the idea that they're all holding hands, I think to me, is showing that like we have to be a community to get where we need to go. Um, so I just love this work through, you know, the skill and the style, but also um, the emotions that it was invoking for me when looking at this work. Yeah. So with this work, I felt like it was very relevant. You know, for this country, you know, what does the White House stand for? Like, what is now like what happens within this building, but like how do buildings hold memory and shape our understanding of history? So the idea that this work on canvas, you can clearly see that it's the White House, but there's so much over, like layering over the building that makes it kind of it makes it less clear of what we're looking at. And I think sometimes within history, and particularly now, we often are wondering what is happening. What are we experiencing right now? Um, and depending on how you are viewing an experience, you will have, you know, different outcomes. So I love that the artist was being very direct when thinking about and creating work using like illustrating a government building and also calling out a particular moment in our recent history and how that might murky the legacy of this particular building and murky really like our history and legacy. And that's something that we have to grapple with.
Okay, thank you so much for that rundown of the awards and just some thoughts behind, why you composed the exhibition that you did. For everyone watching this on YouTube, this is just all the awards listed in one place, and you'll be able to find them on our website as well. This is just a small collage of the show. It's not all the works included, but it does give you a better sense of some of the works that are also included in the show and kind of the shape that the exhibition took hold. Um, yeah, at this point, Ms. Dodd, I want to ask you, so it was interesting. You said that what is our what is history going to look back on and see when they look at this time period? So I guess let me ask you, ideally, what would you, if you were writing the history books, what would you say our impact was in terms of shaping the nation for the next 100 or so years?
Mhm. That's a really um, important, but like deep and complicated question. I think one, I want our history books to be honest. I want not just one perspective to be documented and given out as facts and or as truth. Um, and so, I mean, that in itself, you know, I want actually like what is happening, good and bad, to be written in our history books. And that there won't be a threat later down the line that certain truths and facts won't be pulled, like what is happening now. So that's definitely something I think, but within like my lifetime, have seen so much development within like technology that has impacted our lives and literally our everyday lives. And that, like, just the way that we're being able to communicate with each other online. And then this will be shared online for people to see. like at their pleasing. I think that's a great advancement in technology that potentially can connect us. But I think we also need to be mindful of the ways in which we are using energy and technology, and particularly AI, in a way that has consequences for our environment. It also can have consequences for like our own mental capacity of being able to be critical thinkers. If we have a tool that thinks for us, will we lose that ability to, be critical and mindful of the information that we're given? So to answer your question of like what would be in the history books, I just want history books to exist. And I want us to be mindful that we are actively like participating in our present, but also the future's history. So as we move about and interact with each other and grow and build, let's be mindful that we do want to have things left after we're gone, and move in a way that is intentional and mindful of ourselves, but also our planet, and our communities.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was that was really good and just in-depth answer. I mean, I agree with you on so many fronts in terms of like in an age of such misinformation, we do need to make sure that whatever is documented for like future generations has accurate information. And like you said, like we need to make the effort to document those things. Because I feel as if nowadays it's so easy to just like get caught up in the now and then forget that, oh wait, we should like record this for later. Then I agree with you on so many fronts. But no, at this point, I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of the Maryland Federation of Art for all the work you've done up to this point. You really took a very difficult and robust exhibition because obviously the subject matter, some of them are, a bit more deep, but you were able to create an exhibition that I think is really meaningful. And for that, I want to say thank you to all the artists that applied, that got in, that didn't get in, that maybe some got in, didn't win an award. Um, Maryland Federation of Art wants to say thank you, for taking the time, for taking the money, for taking the effort to want to work with us. If you didn't get in, just keep your head up. If you got in, to get an award, same thing. With these things, as you can see, with that's been shown through the 250, year history of the nation. If you don't get it first time you try and try again, and eventually, it'll break in your favor. So I just want to say thank you. At this point, Ms. Dodd, if you want to say any words in closing.
Again, I want to echo your thoughts. All of these artists were so talented, and I think this is a great example of how we can actively, document our history. And that is through, if you're an artist, use your medium. If you're a writer, write it out. If you're a content creator, do those things. We all have different abilities and skill sets, but we should all actively be, speaking and sharing our experiences. And I'm so grateful that there's so many artists that submitted that were doing just that. And I really commend them and love to see the work that they continue to do.
Yes, you got to keep creating. Well, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.